Today on Abrasive and Proud of It Live, we're taking this ordinary block of wood and turning it into a rolling pin.
Love it when we're live. I'm Chris, and I'm in the studio. We're going to talk about blades.
And what you'll notice is that it's in the on position, but the tip is not hot. Okay, so I'm not going to burn myself.
Just like that, this is called jogging. This is my kind of jog. I'm not into that heavy physical fitness stuff, so this works out good for me.
Today we're going to be talking about chucks, and the cold jaws would be for taking and holding the bulb this way.
We always recommend leaving at least a 1/16 inch gap. It actually moves up and down and side to side that are great if you're just looking to get something small to do some little tinkering with.
Good afternoon and happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome back to Turning Thursday. Last week, if you watched our video, we talked about turning a simple French rolling pin with one tool. Today, we're going to do a more modern style rolling pin that everybody's used to, using a few more tools. If you have a basic set like this here, this is kind of what we're going to get into. So last week, we used nothing but a spindle roughing gouge. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, what are all these other tools for? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit today. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start off with a cherry block. This is on our website. It's a 3" by 3" by 16. These are nice and affordable, is kind of why I chose that material. So far, what I've done, So far, what I have done is I've taken my ruler and my pencil, and I have found the center. So what I've done is taken the edge of the ruler, put it on both edges of the block of wood, and just marked it. Found my center between the two, and that's all I have done so far. So we're going to mount it between the centers on the lathe. Press it up against the headstock or the motor side. Bring your tailstock in just a little bit. Kind of get rough to the center of the block of the wood. Move this out of the way. Excuse me. And we're just going to tighten down the tailstock. Make sure everything's nice and tight so we're all safe. This lathe here, I have it cranked up to the highest belt setting that it will go. So about a 3,000 to 3,500 RPM. And for spindles like this, the faster we're spinning, the easier it's going to cut. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, safety glasses or some form of face protection. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit because we're on unlevel ground. The lathe is shaking a little bit. Move the banjo and the tool rest in. And so far you can see this block of wood is still square. So I'm just going to take my spindle roughing gouge and just remove some wood. And now if you can see, I'm moving my body, not the tip of the tool. So if we look at in front of me here, when you see the tool moving on the tool rest here, I'm actually taking my body and my feet are shoulder width apart, and I'm just rocking my body like that, and that way everything's nice and stable. I have the you can see the handle of the tool is pressed up against my side, so it's nice and stable. And then I just take the tool, mount it on the tool rest, and then I'm just rocking my body. Now, before I move this tool rest, a quick and easy way to take the to make sure you're in round is you can take the tool and just rest it onto the block of the wood. You see it's bouncing there. That means I'm still at a square. If I come over here, it gets a little bit smoother. In the overhead camera there, you can actually see the way the video is processing. You can still see it's at a square just by simply looking at that. But that right there is a quick and easy way to tell whether it's square or not. Okay, I'm pretty good on this side, as you can hear it. I don't have to be exactly round for what I'm doing with this project. I just need to be roughly there. So I'm going to go to the other side, knock off the corners. I'm going to crank my speed up just a little bit more because we're roughly round now. And the faster you go, the cleaner the lines will look. I'm going to show you a quick way. So right now I'm spinning about 1500 RPM. And if I was just taking my roughing gouge like this, you can see I have spiral lines. I'm going to stop the lathe so you can see it here. You can see I have spiral lines going all the way. So if I was to crank up that speed, like I am here, moving my body at the same speed, it kind of just evens everything out there. Wait for the lathe to stop. You can see it's a little bit more even. That's just a quick tip and trick. If you're trying to get something like this playing down nice and consistently, just cranking the speed up and moving your body slow will just even everything out. Check for round. Feel like I still have a high spot right there. Move my tool rest. I'm going to go back over here. Okay, that should be enough for what we are doing here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to hold it up onto the tool rest here. I'm going to take my pencil as well. And for these handles on this rolling pin, I'm going to do about 4.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil here, hold it up to the wood at 4.5 inches, just turn on the lathe really quick. Boom, I'm done. Move my tool rest back to the other side. This tool rest needs a little bit of grease or wax or something. It's pretty loud. Normally I recommend starting with the lathe off, but for the sake of this video, we're going to keep things moving here. Okay, so you can see this is about a good size for my handle. This is a nice flat spot for the rolling action. So what I'm going to do now, out of my set here, I have a parting tool. This one, it looks like a diamond on the tip here, as you can see in the picture. You just simply hold it up against the tool rest, take the tip of the butt of the tool, have it down about your waist, and bring it to the material. I'm going to have it on this side of the line because that's the diameter I want this to be. And so I'm just going to part on that line. And it doesn't really matter how far I go in, because once we get rid of this material over here, we're going to match both sides. Move my tool rest. Part on this side as well. And a quick tip: if you hear my tool doing that, so if you come to the left or right of where you just parted and remove some material on that side, it will actually help with cooling. You won't burn the wood. Like this cherry right here, cherry burns really easy. So I can burnish that edge or even burn it and turn that black. I'm done with this tool for now. So I'm going to do, take my spindle roughing gouge again, clean it off. I can go slow like this, and I would recommend this for beginners, is just going slow and slowly removing material. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to do what's called a planing cut. I'm going to take the tip of the tool and kind of push in and kind of listen to the tool. So what I'm doing is pushing in, and when it stops, you hear it chatter a little bit. Then you want to move to the side, whether it be the right or left side. See how it's stopping me there? And what I'm doing and what the tool is telling me is that the wing of this tool right here, right there, it's let me find it in the camera. The wing right there is catching on the high spot or the low spot of this. So I'm just pushing in until it won't let me. And after doing two, see there, now we're cutting. And we're doing two of these rolling pins. This standard high-speed steel really should really be sharpened in between these, but for this sake of this video, I'm showing you that with a basic turning set and a lathe, you can really make any useful and simple project. Now what I'm doing now is I'm taking the tool and kind of getting rough to that spot where we parted. So I have a flat spot here and the round spot down there. I'm just taking my tool and kind of planing there. So right about now, we want to start thinking about how our handle is going to look. So if you see this rolling pin here, I got a little bit of a shape. So when you hold it in your hand, the best way to show you this, see if you hold it in your hand, your thumb kind of rests in that area right there, and this swell right here kind of fits into the palm of your hand, so you can grab it really nice and easy, and it feels nice and good in the hand. And then also when you're rolling it on the lathe or rolling it onto bread or whatever you're doing, that swell fits into the palm of your hand real nice, and it just feels real good, that back and forth action. This rolling pin here, obviously these do not swivel, these are hard mounted. We can get into a more technical video down the road where we do make these swivel, but for the sake of a beginner project, this is quick and simple, and it's a good gift to give away. So we want to start thinking about what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dish this spot out here. I got too much material over here, so I'm going to plane it off a little bit more, but then I'm going to take this side and just kind of roll that over. So as you can see what I'm doing there, I'm taking my body and kind of rotating it into that swell. If we can go to the, I'm taking my body and just rotating it into that swell. So when you have that on your hand, it just feels nice. And also another thing you can do is turn the lathe off and actually just stick your hand on it. Your hand will tell you 1,000 more things than looking at it. So just take it and stick your hand on there. Like right now, I know I have way too much material still, so I'm going to take off a little bit more, turn the lathe back on, let it catch up to speed a little bit, go back to work. So I got a nice good swell there. I'm going to take the other side of the wing of the tool, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to rotate it about like that, and I'm going to get a little close to this spot where I parted off. And what I'm doing is I'm rounding the high spot of that swell and kind of blending everything together to that spot where we parted with our parting tool. And just take it back this way. Kind of even everything out, fill it with your hands. I think that feels good in my hand. So I'm going to take some material off. Okay, feel it. Still a little fat there. You can make this as fat or as thin as you want these handles. That should be good for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my tool and round this corner off. We're still a little square here. You can see where my tool is bouncing. So what I'm going to do is take my parting tool again and bring it up to the edge of this and just part. And you got to be real careful here because you got that four prong dry spur. So you want to bring that part just down to where you can see those prongs in there and just get close enough. So you can see here on this, let me find it. Yeah, you can see here on this camera, I have a high spot right here. We can take a pocket knife or sandpaper and just get that prong out of there, and also just carve it off, do whatever you need to do to clean it up on the handle. I'm going to take my spindle roughing gouge again and just round everything over. And guys, this doesn't really need to be technical on how wide these handles are or how long these handles are. It just needs to feel good to you. As I said earlier, your hand will tell you 1,000 more things than your eyes can see. So if that feels good in your hand, then it'll probably feel good in other people's hands. So going and rounding this corner off like I'm doing here, doing that technique, it has a tendency to catch, especially with there being no supporting wood over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my my spindle gouge. I'll find the, there we go. Looks a little bit something like this. This is a standard grind spindle gouge that would come in a basic box of turning tools. No Irish grind, no fingernail grind, nothing. Just nice and simple. I'm going to take my tool and just kind of round that corner over. You can see I have a high spot right there. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the tool and just rotating it. So you see the flute right here, excuse me. See the flute right there and how I'm just rotating things over. That's kind of what I'm doing right there. I'm just moving things over. Trying to pay attention to what I'm showing you and make sure you see what I'm talking about. I wasn't paying attention where the tip of the tool was and I knocked into that. So that's what happened there. Honest mistake, anyone can do it. So that feels good in my hand. I'm not going to worry about cleaning anything up right now with sandpaper. I do have a high spot there and some tool marks right there. We'll get back to that here in a second. How are we doing on time, Chris?
2-2.
Okay. So I'm going to do this other side, knock it out real quick. You can see how simple and easy this will be. And I'm not going to talk much in this because I'm trying to show with a lot of practice and muscle memory of your tools and how often you turn, you can really knock something out quick. Projects don't have to take hours, and you don't have to worry about projects taking hours if you have the right basic techniques. And that's one thing I do like about these projects is it's a technique builder, a skill builder, whatever you want to call it. Now I got a high spot here, but I want that swell. So I'm going to take my body and just kind of rocking into place. Feel my hand, I'm still a little too high there. Feels good. So I'm going to take this other side, get rid of some stock. It still looks a little high. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to worry about it too much. As long as that gets rough to what we're after, that's all I'm going to worry about for this video. So, that feels good in the hand over there and over there. Now, something you can do to make these little details, as I have on this handle right here, these little lines, if you have a tool that looks about like this, and every single set I've ever seen manufactured has one of these, it's called a skew. We're going to use this a little unconventionally than everyone else does. Move my tool rest over. And what I'm going to do is so normally you hold the skew like this on the tool rest and you rock on the flat spot. This time I'm going to take the back side of the skew, so the tallest point on the skew, so this side over here, I'm going to take that side and stick it on the tool rest like that, and I'm just going to use it kind of like a parting tool. And since we are spinning so fast, it'll actually burn the wood a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the deepest point of this hollow right here, deepest point. I'm going to add one on the other side of that point and another one over there. Just give it a little something nice. You can see that burned in there nicely. I'm going to go about 1/8 inch over, burn, and burn. So there's 3 lines. I'm going to get the middle one again because they're little. Yeah, now they're even. And on this end over here, it doesn't have to be real technical, but you do want to be careful because this is rounded over. So you want to take your thumb and go on top of the tool and just bring it in, burn, and burn. So that's a nice little detail. It makes it stand out, makes it look like you gave a little bit more effort. Makes everything kind of just blend together. So pretty much I am roughly done for the sake of this video. I'm not going to sand. I'm not going to worry about getting rid of these high spots. So what I would do now is I would start at like 120 grit, 100 grit, maybe even 80 grit, whatever you have is just fine. And make sure you work your way through the grits. Whatever you start with, go to the next grit, go to the next grit. So if you start at 100, go to 150, then to 220, 320, 400. And about 400 range is where I would stop, turn off the lathe. I would take a damp paper towel, whatever you have, and just damp with water and just put it on the surface here. And what that would do is it'll raise the grain, kind of like with shaving, and you get in a hot shower. It raises the fibers, raises the hair, and what that'll do is it'll feel nice and rough again. So then next, I would take 600 grit and just knock all that down, and then this will feel nice and smooth. So with this piece right here, I've already done that. I'm going to take this piece off the lathe that you just saw me turn. And for the magic of the video, we are already at 600 grit. Just mount it between centers again. Bring up my tailstock, tighten everything down. And what I'm going to do is I have a t-shirt kind of material here. And this one I used in the last video. I dropped my bottle of walrus oil. What I'm using here is walrus oil. Normally I like to buy the big gallon of it. Just save me a little bit of money. And I normally put it into one of our small Boston bottles. And that way I have something that has an easy dispenser on it. And I can also see how much I have in it. Normally this likes to separate, but because it fell off the lathe, it already mixed itself. But what you do is just take your finger onto the tip, shake everything up because it's got wax and oil in there. You just want to get everything nice and even. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tool rest off of the lathe. I'm going to get back in the shot. And this one is our store display, so it's a little stiff. Okay, so I got my paper, or not paper towel, my t-shirt material, put a little bit on to it. And the reason I like a t-shirt material is because it's finer than like a paper towel. Paper towel is made for scrubbing, so it's actually a little bit coarse. And for what we are about to do, you'll actually see lines once we get finished with a paper towel. But with this t-shirt material, it's fine enough where it evens everything out. And you can see how beautiful that piece of wood is there. And with those cherry 3x3x6 or 3x3x16 that we sell on our website, this was right off the rack. Not saying all of them are this pretty, but this was right off the top of the rack. So there is some good wood in there for nice and affordable prices. Get the handle nice and well. Get the end grain, which is one of the most important things. I'll do that in a second on the other side so you can see me. And a quick tip to some of you guys, oil can hide a lot of mistakes. So if we go to this camera, you can see how this is a little bit rough. If I take some oil, and this is a pro tip, you just take some oil, put it on that end grain, it'll kind of blend everything together. And nobody will really be able to tell unless they know what they're talking about. So that's just kind of a pro tip. Get some more on my rag. This cherry that we sell, talking about it again, it's kiln dried, but it's also been in a warehouse for, I think the guy told me about 20 years. So it's nice and seasoned, and it's really dry, so it's soaking this oil up tremendously. So I'm going to turn on the lathe. Make sure everything's tightened again because we're going to spin at high speeds. Tighten everything down. Put some more on the rag, and because this has beeswax in it, I use it like a friction polish. And just really buff it in there. And the more friction, the better with this method, because the beeswax will actually melt into the cherry. And I can already smell the beeswax melting, so I know I'm pretty good on that. But what I'm looking for is to make sure that the shine from all these lights is consistent across this piece. So I saw it was a little dull there, but it's shiny down here, so I'm going to get the top part. Excuse me. Get that end grain, buff that wax and that oil into that end grain to protect it from any kind of food or whatever you're going to use this for. And start working on my main roller. And with this main roller, we really want to get into the wood, because this is going to be your main spot that's contacting food. So you really want to protect your food and protect the wood nice and well. And with this beeswax and what I'm going to use next with carnauba wax, it'll buff in nicely and protect it nice and well. Now, the only downfall about food safe finishes is eventually you will need to reapply, and just keep everything maintained. Make sure all the wood is nice and protected and you're not eating moldy wood and whatever you have. Okay. I'm getting into that crack a little bit more. And now this rag is about as hot as I can stand it. But that's okay, because that's what we're after. And I'm going to get this top part again. I'm going to do one more coat on the top part. And because this is spinning so fast, that wax is drying pretty quickly. And most of my oil just flew off there, if you saw that in the video. So another pro tip is you have a little dollop like this right here. Start out here and work your way into the dollop on the lathe. So the lathe is spinning this way, so it's coming. The top part is coming at me. So you want to hold the material, your rag up underneath. And so if you do catch, as you saw that splatter of oil a second ago, it'll shoot away from you. It won't shoot at you. So it'll keep you safe. If I came up top, you can see how it's pushing against me and kind of fighting me there. That's just kind of a tip there. Nobody ever taught me that. I learned that from experience. Okay, so we are about good. on that top part. I'm going to turn off the lathe, let everything slow down. The next step for this is I'm going to use this walrus oil furniture wax. This is food safe, made of all natural materials, is why I like it. And the main benefit of why I like this furniture wax over the regular cutting board wax is because it's got carnauba in it, and the carnauba will protect a whole lot better. And what you do, because it's carnauba, is you just want to take your rag and really work it in there, heat up your rag to the material, and make sure you get your rag nice and filled there. So I'm just going to wipe it on right now and kind of buff it. I don't know if the camera can pick this up with how curly this is, but it's crazy. Okay, so we're working it in there and just kind of getting a top coat. Turn on the lathe. Heat it up again. Start with the handle over here where you can see me, and use the lathe and the high speed to our advantage to heat up this wax and really burn and melt in there. Now you can really see where that nice shine of the carnauba wax and all the waxes and oils working together is coming to play. And the more heat you apply and the more wax you apply, the better protected the wood's going to be. For the sake of the video, I'm going to try to move along here. Because my rag's hot from the friction on the lathe, it doesn't take much after you get using it for a little bit. Make sure you get the end grain. Come back over this way. Top should be nice and done. Get the end grain on this side. Start working on this handle. Now I can barely hold this rag, it's so hot. But that is a good thing. Okay, we're all done now. So as the lathe spins down, just take a few moments, calm down, relax a little bit, let this wax and oil dry up a little bit. If you touch it right now, you will get fingerprints on here. I'll try to move it to see if you can see how shiny and glossy this is. There, you can see the curl right there. So that's about all we have for today. Chris, do you have any questions from the chat?
Nope, everything's good.
Okay. That was a quick and easy project for beginners on the lathe. I want to get a good shot of this because I'm just really impressed on how well this wood looks. And this wood actually has some sapwood, as you can see right there. As I move it over, you really see some curl. And at home, this had a knot in it, and what I did was filled it with some black CA glue. So just to kind of make sure no food or anything gets in that and starts to rot and deteriorate. But we are all done for this project, and that is all I have for today.
So, Chris, you think we'll be covering anything on sanding tips coming up?
Yeah, next week we're going to do a quick and easy video. I didn't really cover sanding in these last two videos simply because it's a whole art form on its own, kind of like with turning itself. Sanding is a completely different animal. So next week we're going to do a quick and easy sanding technique video. I'm going to use the two rolling pins that I used today as examples and show you a few different ways I would sand them.
All right, sounds good. Well, we certainly appreciate everybody watching the Abrasive and Proud of It live today on Turning Thursday with Turnmaster Chris. Tune in next Thursday for more cool stuff on how to turn. and we'll see what Tuesday brings us for Tech Tip Tuesday. So got a cool item, couple items we're going to talk about, and I'm not going to give it away, so you'll just have to tune in for that. Well, on behalf of Klingspor's Woodworking Shop and Abrasive and Proud of It Live, we appreciate you guys. Keep watching and turn something. Let us know what you've done. And as always, if you got questions or comments, leave them below. We'll be happy to answer them as we go along. Thanks so much, and you guys have a great day.
See you next Thursday.